introduce Saïd Mouline, the Managing Director of Moroccan Agency for Energy Efficiency. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Treni. It's a great pleasure for me, and I would like first of all to thank the rest for Africa for this invitation, because I don't know if Roberto Vigotti is still connected, but I would like to say hi to him because we had a long history, even here or in Morocco, since a long time, working for renewable energy in the continent. I'm very glad that today, as Excellencies, what you said, and all the ambassadors here present, and I'm really glad that our continent, as you mentioned, and thank you, Luca, for all the pictures that you mentioned. The Kingdom of Morocco started this strategy many years ago. And if we manage to reach our objective, it's because of an approach that is supported at the highest level of the state. The King's letter in 2009 was very clear. Priority to renewable energy and energy efficiency in our energy strategy. Objective to reach. We're talking about 52% of renewable energy in capacity in 2030. We are now even more increasing this objective. 20% of energy efficiency, as you saw in the movie. You saw all the sectors where energy efficiency is a key also to, at the same time you're developing renewable energy, you have to be very careful about energy efficiency. In industry, in transport, in housing, in public lighting, in agriculture. In all those sectors, we need to have an approach where we should not waste energy. It's a shame today in our continent that 600 million people, as you mentioned, and as we know, don't have access to electricity. We cannot accept that. We have to push for, with the potential of renewables that we have in the continent, have more and more projects. It was mentioned in your study, we have huge potential in the continent. Of course, we need a lot of infrastructure. Roberto mentioned the infrastructure for the grid, yes. The kingdom today is connected to Europe. It's connected also with other countries, but we are preparing also, we are discussing a connection with Mauritania in the future. And one thing for renewable energy, which is very important, as we have now this strong proactive policy at the highest level of the state, the dedicated agencies, Mazen in charge of the big power plants linked to renewables, AME in charge of energy efficiency, IRENA for R&D. We had not only projects, but we had a strategy with different actors. Cluster, the solar cluster and the hydrogen cluster today that we have, is to show that when you have this approach with all actors working together, we can reach our objective. Legislation. We have a new law for renewable energy and a new law for energy efficiency. It helps a lot. You need, at the same time you have the strategy, you need to have legislation allowing to implement all the approach through public-private partnership. It's the private sector who is investing in the big project as in small projects. But you need to have all the support. For example, for big project, of course, we had the approach. We have also transparency in the contract, confidence between partners, and governance in managing those contracts. It's very important. Then you can reach what we managed to reach in the Kingdom of Morocco, the lowest price of renewable energy in the world sometimes. Less than 3 cents per kilowatt hour for the wind. Less than 3 cents also for the solar PV. Of course, with solar thermal, with storage, it's quite higher, but it's also one of the solutions for renewables. So the kingdom showed that he had a vision, a strategy, and he managed to reach those objectives because of that. One thing very important also, I would like to mention, and it was mentioned also, capacity building in our continent. And we had during the COP22, I was in charge of the Public-Private Partnership Commission, And we want to show how the private sector should invest in reducing its own emission, but also in all new technologies. That's one thing. But what we had during the COP22 is an African summit headed by the king, who mentioned all the points for agriculture, for water, for energy, what Africa should do. Between our colleagues here, I would like to say that we had a chance to say that we have some African solutions today. We can reach those African solutions for all countries by cooperation, by also we developed, we have the CATC, it's the Center of Competency for Climate Change, for training for the whole continent. It's very important. In Marrakesh, you saw it in the movie, we have a training center agreed by UNESCO for solar energy in Africa. With the solar cluster, we are developing training for young people how to size, how to maintain, how to install solar pumps or solar roofs. It's very important to have the right people. Young people in Africa can be also, because we're talking about many jobs in this field, for all the application of decentralized projects. Because we're talking about big projects with solar, with wind, but also we should not forget all the decentralized part, especially for our continent. We can bring some solutions that are completely economic today, and of course creating many jobs in the countries. So it's very important to have this in mind. When you have this approach, you can reach not only the projects to reach the percentage that you want, but the jobs creation, and two things. All the social impact of renewables. When we are implementing a wind park in Lyon, we are evaluating the wind of Lyon, producing electricity for Lyon, creating jobs in Lyon. It's very important. Renewables in each territory can really show that you can develop the region while you're implementing renewables. So that's one thing. Another point is in the industry. We manage, because of the visibility, when you have a strategy for many years, you can attract industries in this field. 500 young Moroccans went to Scandinavia for training, and now we have a wind blade factory in Tangier. 70% of the spare parts of the windmills are produced in Morocco. So we are even exporting wind blades today in many countries. So when you have this approach, you look at all the impacts. Economical impacts, because the low price of renewables, technical and capacity building, creating jobs in the industry, and of course, the environmental impact as we're developing clean projects and attracting green financing. That's another point. We can manage to attract green financing in our continent as soon as we have a right strategy. And as it was mentioned in your study also, we need to, for this, to have this visibility, give it to this visibility, and to be really in the governance very strong. Then you can reach all those projects. In the future, we are working for all the new technologies, but also all new, we're talking about green hydrogen. Why we have a cluster dedicated to green hydrogen today? I would like to finish with that, because the Kingdom is also looking for implementing many projects in the green hydrogen for its own industry, as the agency today is working for energy efficiency, but also for sustainable mobility and clean production in the industry, with the decarbonization of the industry. Europe is preparing a border carbon tax. We have to be ready for that. Many African countries are exporting to Europe. It's very important to show that with this energy transition, not only you can decarbonize, but also you can decrease your own energy bill. And it's very important for the industries, and especially for those who are exporting. That's why we have a program for that today, and we can think about how green hydrogen and green ammonia, because we are a huge producer of fertilization, for fertilizers. And this is very important because green hydrogen is developed in many countries today, as pilot project, but the market is here, and I think we will have this energy of the future that we were talking about today, but with renewables, because you need renewables for green hydrogen. And the huge potential that we have in Africa today is an example that we can show how we can really develop the continent, even for the future technologies, and I'm sure that we can find a way. But the main thing for our continent, capacity building for the young people in the continent. We can just bring the electricity quickly today with renewables, by creating jobs, and by respecting the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And I want to underline, first of all, the fact that fertilizer the price is sky high with the current situation in the energy, so it's a real thing. Fertilizer companies have shut down their operation, waiting for better time with lower price. It's really challenging.
One thing, thank you for mentioning that, because we need a lot of energy also for fertilizer, for producing fertilizers. Today, the OCP group is using 88% of its electricity from renewables. And the price didn't change for that. That's why very important. That's how we can maintain some cost in the industry. And the group OCP wants to be carbon neutral in 2040. So not only for renewable energy coming from power, wind power, especially in Morocco, but also energy efficiency in the chemical industry. The heat that is used now today is used to dissolve water that can be used in the process. And last point is how the group is using ammonia. We expect to use green ammonia after green hydrogen for the future to decrease its own CO2 emissions.